In the heart of a busy city, the streets buzzed with life. Cars honked, people rushed to their destinations, and the smell of fresh food filled the air. Among the crowd walked a man named Mr. Saeed. He was a billionaire, known for his business empire and sharp mind. He wore a clean, expensive suit and walked with confidence, blending easily into the busy city life. But as he reached into his pocket to pay for a cup of coffee, panic struck. His hand came out empty. The wallet, thick and heavy with money, cards and important papers, was gone. Mr. Saeed's heart began to race. Losing a wallet was bad enough, but for a man like him it meant much more than just money. It was his identity, his power, and his life's work all in one small leather case. He looked around quickly, hoping to spot the wallet or the person who might have taken it. People hurried past, some smiling, some focused on their own world. No one seemed to notice the panic in Mr. Saeed's eyes. He stepped back and tried to remember the last moment he had the wallet. Was it at the coffee shop, on the bench near the park, or maybe it had slipped from his coat as he walked? As he searched far away from the hustle, a young girl named Noor walked slowly along a cracked sidewalk. Noor was poor. She had no home, no warm bed to sleep in, and no food to eat. Her clothes were old and torn, and her shoes barely held together. She moved carefully, trying not to lose the small bag of food she had managed to find that day. Noor's life was a struggle. Every day was about survival, finding something to eat, a place to rest, and hope to hold on to. Her face was tired, but kind, and her eyes held a quiet strength. She had learned to live alone without anyone to care for her. The city was harsh, and most people ignored her. As Noor walked, her foot hit something hard on the ground. She looked down and saw a black leather wallet lying near the edge of the sidewalk. She picked it up, curious and careful. The wallet looked expensive and was thick with papers. Noor's heart jumped. This was not hers. She looked around, hoping to see someone looking for it, but the street was empty. No one was searching. No one was calling. Noor opened the wallet slowly. Inside, she found money, more than she had ever seen at once. There were credit cards, ID cards, and a few photos. Then she noticed a small folded piece of paper tucked between the cards. She carefully pulled it out and opened it. The note was short but written with neat handwriting. It said, "To the person who finds this wallet, please be honest and return it. You will be rewarded in a way you can never imagine." Noor smiled faintly. She wished for such honesty and kindness in her own life. She thought of her empty stomach and cold nights, but her heart told her this wallet did not belong to her. She wanted to return it, but how? She was just a poor girl with no phone, no address, and no one to help. Still, she decided to try. Maybe the note's promise was true. Maybe this was her chance. Noor folded the note carefully and placed it back inside the wallet. She looked around again. The busy city didn't feel friendly. People walked past, too busy with their own lives to notice a poor girl holding a lost wallet. With hope in her heart, Noor started walking toward the address on one of the ID cards. It was an office building, tall, shiny, and very different from the small, cracked buildings in her part of town. Meanwhile, back at the coffee shop, Mr. Saeed was still worried. Without his wallet, he felt vulnerable and helpless. Losing it was a big mistake, but what if someone used it? What if it was gone forever? The phone on his table rang suddenly. It was his assistant. "Sir," someone called. "A girl found your wallet and wants to return it." Mr. Saeed's eyes widened. "A girl? Where is she?" "Near your office building. She says she has a note for you." Mr. Saeed's heart skipped a beat. Could this be real? Could someone honest really have found his wallet and decided to return it? He hurried out of the coffee shop, his mind full of questions. Who was this girl? Why would she return it? And what was in that note? As Noor reached the building, she felt nervous but determined. She carried the wallet close to her chest and looked up at the tall glass doors. She was about to meet the billionaire, a man she had only heard stories about. The city noises seemed to fade away as she stepped inside. Noor's hands trembled, but her heart was strong. What would Mr. Saeed say when he saw the poor girl with his wallet? Would he trust her? Would her life change forever because of this moment? The answers were waiting just ahead. Noor stood at the shiny glass doors of the tall building. Her heart beat fast. She had never been inside a place like this before. The floor was clean and shiny, and people in suits passed by quickly, talking on their phones. Noor felt small and out of place. She clutched the wallet tightly in her hands. A kind receptionist smiled at her. "Can I help you, miss?" Noor took a deep breath. I found this wallet on the street. It belongs to Mr. Saeed," she said quietly. The receptionist's eyes widened in surprise. "Wait here. I will let him know." Noor waited nervously, watching the busy people around her. She remembered the note she had found inside the wallet, the promise of a reward for honesty. Could this be her chance for a better life? Moments later, a tall man in a suit walked toward her. It was Mr. Saeed. He looked tired but curious. His eyes met hers and he saw the nervousness in her face. "Are you the one who found my wallet?" he asked softly. "Yes, sir," Noor replied, her voice shaking a little. "I found it on the street near the market. I saw the note inside. I wanted to return it to you." Mr. Saeed took the wallet from her hands and carefully opened it. Everything was still there, the money, cards, and the folded note. He smiled and then looked at Noor. "Thank you for being honest," he said. "Most people would have taken the money and walked away." Noor looked down, embarrassed. "I do not have much," she said, "but I wanted to do the right thing." Mr. Saeed felt something warm in his heart. He saw the honesty and courage in this poor girl. But then he noticed something else. A small piece of paper slipped out from the wallet. It was Noor's. He opened it carefully and read the words, "I am poor and alone. I sleep on the street. This wallet is not mine, but I have no one to help me. Please, if you can, help me find a better life. I want to be honest and work hard, but I am afraid no one will care." Mr. Saeed looked up, his eyes full of surprise. He had never expected this. This girl had risked everything to return his wallet, and now she was asking for help with such honesty. "Why didn't you ask for help before?" he asked gently. Noor's eyes filled with tears. "I was afraid. People ignore me. They see only my clothes, my shoes, and my tired face. But I want to change. I want to work. I want to live with hope." Mr. Saeed felt a deep sadness for Noor. Here was a girl with no family, no home, and no chance, yet full of courage and honesty. "I want to help you," he said slowly. "But first, tell me about yourself. How did you come to live on the streets?" Noor took a deep breath and started to share her story, about losing her parents, struggling alone, and dreaming of a better future. Mr. Saeed listened carefully, his heart breaking for her pain. After she finished, Mr. Saeed stood silently for a moment, then said, "You have a strong heart, Noor. That's rare. I want to give you a chance. Will you come with me tomorrow to meet someone who can help?" Noor looked up, surprised but hopeful. "Yes, sir. Thank you." As Noor left the building that day, she felt a small spark of hope. Maybe her life was about to change. Maybe someone had finally seen her. But little did she know, this was only the beginning of a journey filled with challenges, surprises, and secrets that would change both their lives forever. The next morning, Noor waited outside the same tall building where she had returned the wallet. Her clothes were clean but still worn. She had washed her face in a public restroom and tied her hair neatly. Even though she looked simple, her eyes were full of quiet hope. At exactly 9 a.m., the glass doors opened, and Mr. Saeed stepped out. He was dressed smartly in a dark blue suit. Beside him stood a woman in her 40s, wearing a kind smile and holding a file. "Noor, good morning," Mr. Saeed greeted. "This is Ms. Farah. She works at a foundation I support. They help girls like you, those who are honest, hard-working, and just need a chance." Ms. Farah smiled warmly. "Mr. Saeed told me everything. I believe you deserve better, Noor. Come, we'll start with some food, and then I'll take you to our shelter." Noor followed them, quietly amazed. For the first time in years, someone was treating her with respect, not like a burden or a beggar. They sat at a small restaurant where Noor had her first proper breakfast in weeks. Hot tea, fresh bread, eggs, and fruit. She ate slowly, politely, but her hands trembled. It felt like a dream. After breakfast, Ms. Farah took Noor in her car to a small building just outside the city. It was a girls' home run by the foundation. There were clean rooms, kind staff, and other young girls like Noor, each with her own painful story. "This is your room," Ms. Farah said, showing her a small space with a single bed, a shelf, and clean clothes folded neatly. Noor looked around. A bed, her own pillow, a door she could close. It was simple, but to her, it was a palace. Tears filled her eyes. "I don't know how to thank you." "You already did," Ms. Farah replied. "When you returned that wallet and wrote that note, you showed the kind of person you are." For the next few days, Noor adjusted to the new life. She took part in reading classes, learned to use a computer, and helped in the kitchen. The staff loved her. She was polite, helpful, and quick to learn. But one evening, as she was helping clean the hall, Noor overheard something that stopped her heart. Two staff members were speaking near the office door. "Yes, she's the girl. Mr. Saeed is doing a background check. He wants to know more about her past. Do you think she's hiding something?" "I don't know, but he's being very careful." Noor stepped back, her chest tight. A background check? Why? What would they find? She hadn't done anything wrong. But her past, her real past, was painful, and there was something she had never told anyone, not even in the note. Her hands trembled again. What if Mr. Saeed found out? Would he take everything back? That night, Noor couldn't sleep. She stared at the ceiling, thoughts racing in her mind. The audience now wonders, what secret is Noor hiding? Why is Mr. Saeed digging into her past? Will this new life be taken away? Noor sat alone on the edge of her bed. The lights were off, but the moonlight from the window lit up her small room. Her hands were cold, her heart heavier than ever. She whispered to herself, what if he finds out? The past she had tried to forget came rushing back, memories she had buried deep. Years. Noor had a small family. Her father worked at a car workshop and her mother stitched clothes at home. Life wasn't easy, but they were happy. Until one rainy night changed everything. Her father was accused of stealing a customer's expensive car. Police came to their home. Her mother cried and begged them to listen, but no one did. The car was never found. Her father was arrested. Noor remembered how neighbors looked at them with disgust, how her school friends stopped talking to her. People whispered, "Thief's daughter." Then her mother fell sick. Noor tried to take care of her, but they had no money. One evening, her mother closed her eyes and never opened them again. Noor was only 11 years old. No relatives came, no one offered help. Noor had no choice but to live on the streets. She begged, cleaned cars, and picked up scrap to survive. But she never stole. Never. She kept one photo with her. A small, worn picture of her parents folded inside an old scarf. Now, years later, Noor feared that if Mr. Saeed's team discovered her father's past, they would believe she was like him. The next morning, she packed her small bag silently. She couldn't risk losing everything again. It was better to leave before they asked her to. She walked out of the building with slow steps, passing the gate, tears blurring her vision. But someone was waiting at the corner. It was Mr. Saeed. He had a file in his hand and a serious look on his face. "Noor," he said calmly, "where are you going?" She froze. I'm sorry. I just think it's better if I leave." He stepped closer. "Because of this?" He held up the file. Noor nodded slowly. Mr. Saeed opened the file and showed her a page. "I asked about your family. I know what happened. Your father was never proven guilty. There wasn't enough evidence, and he died in prison 2 years later." Tears rolled down Noor's face. She had never known her father died. Mr. Saeed continued, "You suffered for something that was never your fault. But even after all that, you stayed honest. You returned my wallet. You chose the hard way, not the wrong way." Noor lowered her eyes. People don't usually say that. They just see a thief's daughter. I'm not people, Mr. Saeed said firmly. I see someone who deserves a chance. He handed her the file. This is your truth. Don't run from it. Own it. Noor couldn't stop crying. This was the first time someone had looked at her past and not turned away. As they stood there on the sidewalk, the audience now wonders, what will Noor do with this truth? Will she finally be free from her past? Is Mr. Saeed planning something even bigger for her future? The next morning, Noor stood outside a tall building. It was Saeed Industries, the same company whose owner she had returned the wallet to. She held a letter in her hand, with her name typed neatly at the top. Job offer, office assistant. Noor still couldn't believe it. A billionaire had not only thanked her but now offered her a job. She whispered, "Why me?" Her hands were shaking as she walked through the glass doors. A receptionist smiled kindly and guided her to the 15th floor. Everyone in the office wore clean suits, moved fast, and looked busy. Noor felt out of place. Her clothes were simple, her shoes a bit worn, but her heart was full of hope. Inside the office, Mr. Saeed waited. He stood when she walked in. "Welcome, Noor. Ready for your first day?" She nodded nervously. I've never worked in a place like this before." He smiled. "You'll learn. Just stay honest, like the girl who returned my wallet." He introduced her to a kind woman named Ms. Fariha, who showed Noor around. She learned how to file documents, serve tea, and manage small tasks. Everyone was surprised at how quickly Noor understood things. But behind the smiles, some whispered, "Isn't she that poor girl from the street? How can she work here?" Mr. Saeed gave her the job because he feels sorry. Noor heard them. Every word hurt. But she remembered her mother's voice from long ago. Even if the world turns its back, you walk forward with your head high. That night, Mr. Saeed invited her to a dinner with some of the company's top staff. She sat quietly at the end of the table, unsure of what to say or how to act. The table was full of rich food she had never tasted before. A man across the table said loudly, "She returned a wallet, that's all. What's so special about that?" Mr. Saeed's eyes turned serious. He spoke calmly. "She returned a wallet, yes. But she also wrote a note saying she hoped the money could help someone in need. That's not just honesty. That's a heart most people forget to have." Everyone went quiet. Noor looked down, embarrassed but touched. Later, as they left the restaurant, Mr. Saeed walked beside her. "You know," he said, "you remind me of someone I once knew. My younger sister. She was kind, soft-spoken, but strong. She died years ago. I lost her. But helping you, it feels like I'm getting a small part of her back." Noor didn't know what to say. Her eyes filled with tears. He looked at her gently. "You're not alone anymore, Noor." As she got in the car, she looked out at the city lights. The same streets where she once slept on cold pavements now looked different, warmer, brighter. But the audience now wonders, will Noor be able to hold on to this new life? What happens if her past still comes to destroy her future? And what exactly is Mr. Saeed planning next for her? Days turned into weeks, and Noor's life had slowly begun to change. She now wore a neat uniform, earned a small but regular salary, and had even rented a tiny room near the office. It wasn't perfect, but it was peaceful. At night, she would light a candle, open a book, and whisper prayers of thanks. But peace never lasts forever. One afternoon, as she stepped out to buy lunch, a voice stopped her in her tracks. "Well, look who's living rich now." Noor turned around slowly. Her face turned pale. Standing across the street was Shabazz, a man from her past, someone she never wanted to see again. He had once been part of the neighborhood she lived in. A man with a bad heart, always cruel to the poor, always making trouble. He stepped closer, laughing. "I heard you're working for some billionaire now. Big change from sleeping on cardboard, hmm?" Noor took a step back. "What do you want?" He leaned in with a crooked smile. "You owe me, remember? You used to beg near my shop. I gave you leftovers. You ran away. Now, You owe me a favor. I don't owe you anything, Noor replied, trying to stay calm. Shahbaz pulled out his phone. Maybe I should send a few photos of your past to your new boss. Let him see who you really are. Noor's heart pounded. You're blackmailing me? He laughed. Just asking for what I deserve? Or maybe I visit your office and embarrass you in front of all those rich people? She walked away fast, heart racing, afraid. That night, Noor couldn't sleep. Would Mr. Saeed believe her if he saw pictures of her past? Would he fire her? Would the people in the office laugh at her? The next day, she avoided eye contact, worked, quietly, and even skipped lunch. But something was off, Mr. Saeed noticed. After work, he called her into his office. You seem worried, he said. Is something wrong? Noor hesitated. Her eyes filled with tears. Someone from my past found me. He wants to ruin everything I've built here. Who? Mr. Saeed asked gently. She whispered. A man named Shahbaz. He's threatening me. He wants money. Or he'll expose me. Mr. Saeed leaned back in his chair, calm but serious. Noor, he said, I don't care about your past, I care about your heart. She looked at him in shock. You were poor. You suffered. But you still chose to return my wallet. That means more than anything in your history. He stood and picked up his phone. Give me Shahbaz's number. Noor was surprised. What will you do? I'll handle. Nobody threatens someone I care about. The next day, Shahbaz was called to a meeting. He walked into a room expecting to scare Noor. But instead, he found Mr. Saeed waiting. Tall, firm, and powerful. Mr. Saeed handed him an envelope. Here's what you deserve. Nothing. Shahbaz looked confused. Try to bother Noor again and you'll find yourself answering to the law. 2 security guards stepped forward. Shahbaz turned pale and quickly walked away, humiliated. Back at the office, Mr. Saeed said to Noor, You're not alone anymore. I'm here for you. Always. Tears rolled down Noor's cheeks. No one had ever stood up for her before, but now the audience is left wondering, will Noor truly be safe from people like Shahbaz? What deeper reason lies behind Mr. Saeed's care for her? Is this kindness just help, or is it the beginning of something more? Noor stood on the rooftop of the office building looking at the city lights. Life had changed so much. She used to sleep on cold streets. Now she had a job, a room, safety, and most of all, respect. But there was something she never told Mr. Saeed. The note she left inside his wallet, the one that had moved him so deeply, had a truth she had kept hidden. She had written, I found your wallet. I'm returning it because I know what it's like to lose everything. I lost my parents. I lost my home. If you ever read this, just remember, kindness saves more lives than money ever could. Mr. Saeed had read that note many times. It had touched him, not because of the words, but because it reminded him of someone. That night, he sat in his study reading the note again. His hand trembled. There was something familiar in her writing, the way she spoke about losing her parents. It matched a file he had in his drawer. He pulled it out, an old news clipping from years ago. Family dies in fire, only child survives. It was about a fire in a poor neighborhood. A child had survived but was never found again. Her name, Noor Fatima. Mr. Saeed's heart skipped a beat. He remembered now. That little girl had once come to his father's charity hospital. His father had tried to help, but they lost contact. Could Noor be that same girl? The next day, he asked his assistant to run a background check, only for good reason, not to hurt her. The results were clear. Noor Fatima, same girl. Same fire, same sad eyes. He called her into the office. She entered, nervous. Sir, you wanted to see me? Mr. Saeed smiled gently. I know who you are now. Her heart stopped. I know about the fire, the hospital, the little girl who disappeared. She looked down. I didn't want you to know. I was ashamed of my past. He walked over to her. Nor never be ashamed of surviving. What you did was brave. She looked up, her eyes wet. "But why do you care so much?" He paused, then said something that changed everything. "Because once, I lost my little sister in that same fire. I thought she didn't survive, but now, I think I found her again." Noor gasped. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying, you're not alone anymore. I'm not just your boss. I may be your brother." Noor broke down in tears. Years of pain, loneliness, and hunger came pouring out. She wasn't just saved. She was found. Mr. Saeed held her hand. "From now on, you'll never sleep on the streets again. You'll never be forgotten. You have a family.